Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. It's Derby Day and this is your Sunday social. We are going to talk about Samuel Luckhurst leaking the team 24 hours before this massive game. We'll speak about what squad has been leaked and how we feel about it. We're also going to discuss the potential Paul Pogba to move to Man City. I'll put the topics on the screen for you now. We'll speak about Ederson from Atalanta being heavily linked with him again. Florien Plettenberg doubling down on that. Álvaro Carreras to return. We're in pole position if we want to make that move happen. And we're also going to discuss Amad Diallo's form going into this derby. So, welcome, Shreyas. How are you, sir?
Yeah, doing fairly well. And once again, I expected something to come out before the game. I just didn't expect it would be this thing, to come out before the game. Because I just think it is very wrong timing for something like this to actually come out, considering, this is probably Amorim's biggest game. The pressure is on him. The pressure is on City as well. The game carries a lot of stake, considering our league position at the moment. And then something like this comes out and it already derails the momentum of the entire game. So just not the timing to come up with something like this.
Because, typically, you get one or two, don't you? Like, Amad starts today, Garnacho benched, or you'll get drip-fed little bits like that before the game, so we can start to kind of gather an idea together of who's going to start. But he put the full fucking team out. So this is the team that Samuel Luckhurst put on Facebook, by the way. I don't know if anyone's seen it or anyone at all, but this is the team that he put out. So Onana, De Ligt, Maguire, Lissandro, Mazraoui, Bruno, Ugarte, Dalot, Amad, Højlund, and Mason Mount. That's the team that he's put out. So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
If that team starts today, and it might, it's not out of the realms of possibility that this team might not be playing today, because you could be seeing Maguire back in there. You could be seeing Mazraoui being shifted onto the flanks. You could be seeing, Bruno and Ugarte actually starting, or Menu getting somehow getting into that team as well. But I would say more or less, even the type of teams that we went through in the preview last night was very similar to that one. And I just think that this has been happening for quite some time now. That we are seeing league teams before Champions League games, before Premier League games, and big games on top of that. Whether it's Liverpool, whether it's City, whether it's Arsenal, you see those sort of teams. I still remember in that Arsenal game, 2 or 3 hours before the game, we got the news that Malacia will be starting in this one. So I don't know from which source it is coming out, because earlier on we could still actually gather as to from where these leaks are coming out. But right now, with the kind of 11 that is there, with the kind of players that are there, and the player that is being reported as the person who is actually leaking this sort of stuff out, just doesn't give a good vibe or impression, I would say, even to the manager who's just come in.
What would be the motive? That's my question. Why? And I can only think of a couple. Like, why would a player go to a journalist or put it through someone he knows? Or maybe it's not a player. Maybe it could be someone like staff members, or regardless, whoever it is. What's the intention and what's the need to go, listen, this is going to be the team tomorrow. This is who's going to start. What do you get from that? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you get out of it? Nothing. There's no reward, is there? Apart from maybe they feel like, oh, I'm the man to give them this news. I'm the one breaking it. That's the only thing I can think of. But for a player, there is no benefit at all to leaking the lineup, is there?
Yeah, and to be very honest with you, if it is a player, it's not that difficult to actually understand. I would say when it comes to the dressing room, or when it comes to the inside of the club, it is very easy for them to actually know who the player is that is actually leaking the stuff. Whether they go public with it or not is a completely different thing. But everyone has the knowledge as to who is coming out with this sort of stuff. And I would say for a player, especially a young player on top of that, this is something that is just going to backfire you on your career at that particular club, because this is not, I would say earlier on might be the case, because player power was a genuine thing at Manchester United. You could see players pulling weight in front of the manager and the manager not being able to do anything about it. But that regime has shifted now. If someone actually comes up with something like this, and they expect that they might be getting minutes or they might be getting a start into this first team, that's not going to happen. And Amorim isn't that sort of manager either that doesn't know how to deal with egos. He's had a very good disciplined squad at Sporting. He's done a very great job at Braga as well before that. Then now you look into this team as well, with the kind of decisions that he's made. He's benched Rashford 2 or 3 games in a row. He's benched some big egos in this team as well. So it's not going to be a difficult task for him if it is the set player to bench him in the upcoming games, because that player hasn't really been starting as much either in the past few months.
Well, this is what I was going to get onto. Now, I'm not creating speculation because I don't want to say it is a certain player. I don't know, genuinely don't know if it's a staff member or a player or I have no idea. But when you're trying to put piece 2 and 2 together and you think, okay, well, let's go through that lineup that we've just discussed. So, Onana, De Ligt, Maguire, Lissandro is your back line. You've got Masraoui and Dalot starting as the wing backs. You've got Bruno Ugarte in the midfield. Then you've got Mount, Højlund, and Ahmad in the team. So, Garnacho is on the bench. Marcus Rashford is on the bench.
He's on the bench.
You know, there's a few players who you touched on a bit of an ego, have been linked before. I mean, there was stuff going on about Garnacho and his brother leaking lineups to United HQ. I think it was on Twitter. There's a load of stuff about that. There's been stuff about Rashford leaking stuff before, which we've heard. There's been stuff about Luke Shaw leaking stuff before through to Samuel Lucker. So they're 3 players. I mean, Shaw's injured anyway, and it doesn't strike me as the type of guy to do that, to be honest with you. He's 29 years old. But if you start to kind of formulate, okay, why would a player do this? Maybe they're pissed off. Maybe they think they should be starting. And who is the player who usually has that kind of attitude about themselves? Who's fuming, who gets subbed in the game, even if they're playing shit? It's players like Garnacho. It's players like Marcus Rashford. So I don't know who it is. You can only speculate at this point. Maybe we shouldn't even be speculating, but I'm going to say how I feel, and I feel like it is one of those two. I genuinely believe that.
It's not that hard for even the fans.
It's not. Like, you don't need fucking a detective to figure that out, do you?
Exactly. We know who these guys are going to be. Like at the end of the day, you look at any other player in this team. Bruno would never do this. Everybody knows that Bruno won't. Even Dalot won't. Lissandro won't. De Ligt doesn't have any reason to. Mazraoui doesn't have any reason to. Ugarte and Menu don't have any reason to either. Casemiro and Eriksen are seasoned professionals, so they don't really get into banter like this. The ones that you are left with, Xerxes, then Rashford, and then Garnacho. Xerxes already has got a lot going on in his life, I would say, when it comes to football. So I'm very sure it's not him, which leaves you with the 2 guys in Rashford and Garnacho. And the media has really been, I would say the media has really been targeting Marcus Rashford in the past few weeks.
Way too much.
Like, I get, you can criticize players up to a point, but off the pitch, I'm not as concerned. And I don't think that you can take a magnifying glass into players' lives, when they're not playing football. That's completely up to them. But it's got to be one of those two. And with the way things have been coming out last night, it's not a good look on either of them.
Well, we've got quite a few people in the chat. I want to hear everyone's opinions on this because I think it's an interesting situation. This has been ongoing for as long as I remember. Back to Van Gaal days, you would see leaks online about teams. You would see stuff come out before a game. You would see stuff about the club that should be internal at all times. We spoke about last season about building a wall in training so people couldn't, because United just are that entity that everyone wants to know about, everyone wants to leak stuff about, and all the and just to add to that as well, all these big channels that are kind of criticizing these journalists for doing it, they do it themselves. I've seen leaks from them through an agency, through other things. So it's quite hypocritical, all of them sitting there saying, I can't believe they're doing this, I can't believe they're doing that. Fuck off.
They're the ones reporting exclusive articles being reported.
Yeah, because they want to get the views and they want to get the clicks on it. So it's utter bollocks, to be honest with you. But just speaking on Marcus Rashford, I thought something that James Ducker put out, and we didn't have this initially planned in the show to talk about, but it's just come out in past couple of hours. And this James Ducker is in the press conferences at Manchester United. So this is a decent journalist. It's not Neil Custis from The Sun. And he's saying concerns about Marcus Rashford's lifestyle have existed for a while. To deliver consistently, he and Man United must better manage his personal life. A source summed it up nicely. There's a great kid in there and a player in there, but he's lost at the moment. But does that not feel like Rashford's story again for the past 7 years?
It does. Look, when he came in, and I still remember that time, because that was, when I actually started watching United week in and week out.
Yeah.
There was an extremely talented and an extremely explosive player, I would say, as well, when he came onto the scene. Took his spot really well into this, earned his spot in this team at that moment in time. before Bruno came in, carried us for a couple of seasons alongside De Gea when it came to that attacking line. Gave us some very beautiful moments as well in that space. But ever since, that I would say time came in his career, especially at United, when people expected him to be the guy, someone who would, himself lead the line, who would take on the pressure, and in the big moments, he would be the person that people would turn to for that moment of brilliance. He's just not been able to transpire in that period, and we saw a glimpse of it during Ten Hag's first season when he got that 41 goal contribution season. But at this level, and when you're playing for a club like Manchester United, he's just not been able to deliver for us consistently. I've never said that he's someone who doesn't have the capacity to play for United or be a Manchester United player, because we know the kind of talent he possesses, the kind of trickery that he possesses at his feet, the quickness of his movements in and around the box. He does have that in his locker, but he's not able to do that when it comes to the application side on the pitch. He's just not able to deliver for us at the moment. And I think moving onwards from this season as well, you need to bring in some fresh faces into that attacking line. And when I say fresh faces, I don't want it to be youngsters all over again, that you're getting a 21-year-old or 22-year-old.
It feels like we've been relying on Rashford to turn up year in, year
Exactly.
out. To say like, oh, well, we don't need to worry about attacking positions. We've got Rashford. If he can score 30 goals a season, then we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But we're always waiting. That's the issue.
Den Hag relied on Rashford for the entirety of last season, that maybe he'll fire now.
Stinking out the place as well. Like he was so bad, in such bad form, and he would still consistently play. There is obviously a talented player in there, and we've been over this a million times. There is something there, but obviously we can't get it out of him. I mean, the players had 6 different managers at this point. And in an interview, I know he said, well, I take each, stuff from each manager. But if you can't find consistency with 6 different managers, it's not the managers, mate. It's you.
Yeah.
It's him.
He needs a change of scenery now.
He does.
I think I genuinely wouldn't sell him to another Premier League club, because I just know the script that if he moves to like a Chelsea or an Arsenal, I know how that's going.
Sancho, you've seen the story narrative going on with that. You can't be asked with that again. If he does be successful and you've seen him bagging goals for Arsenal, or you just be like, it can't happen. So I think just a move in Europe in general, get away from the Premier League, get away from the English media, go and settle in, even if it's like a PSG or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably one of the only ones who can cover his wages. Go there and just, and you've still got, 3-4 years of your prime left. Go and fulfill your potential, because you've got but it's not. I'm convinced of it. It's never going to happen at United. I just don't think it'll ever happen for him, and it's a shame.
Moving into next season, I don't think that it's going to happen, because with the kind of way Ineos have been moving with signings and with the amount of players that they genuinely want to bring into this team, Rashford is just going to fall down the pecking order next season.
And we've all spoken about how ruthless they've been with staff. I mean, they're sacking staff left, right, and centre. They're making budget cuts. They're ruining Christmas parties. They are being, very strict on that side of things. So they better do it with the players as well who aren't performing. I mean, the ones like Anthony, Rashford, these guys, by the wayside.
They need to go, yeah,
for sure. Right, let's move on to a couple of other stories, because there's quite a few to get into. Miguel Delaney put out last night on Twitter, I think he's a reporter for The Independent or chief correspondent, something along the lines of that. Manchester City have sounded out Paul Pogba about a potential move. The player himself is understood to be reluctant to join them due to his experience with Manchester United. But how much of a bombshell would that be if he was to join there? Would it bother you at all?
It would. It would, because I still remember in between that 2015 to 2018 or 2019, I would say, there were a lot of United fans that backed Paul Pogba against De Bruyne. There were a lot of them, genuinely a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I just don't like it when United players move to immediate rivals and actually, just completely light the place up. And with Pogba, I would say one thing that has been said about him throughout his career is that he is genuinely a very good player, very talented, a very good midfielder, but he needs that
it's always something there with him, isn't
there?
That's
he needs that type of seniority in the team alongside him for him to actually work. That's why it worked well, well for him with the French team, because he had someone like Kante who was very experienced, very professional, and on top of that, a very good leader in that midfield. If he moves to City, and then if it actually happens. I see him actually having a good, good end to his career at City. Because right now, what City are lacking is legs, energy, and that sort of precision in passing. Pogba moves there is a big gamble. Not, I'm going to say this because City are already in a lot of pressure. If they go in for someone like a Pogba and that doesn't work out either, they can just completely write their season off because they're in genuine need for a midfielder.
I look at this story and I'm like, I look at the person who wrote it and I'm like, Miguel Delaney is not the best. I see the name Pogba, the name City on the day of a Manchester derby or just the day before a Manchester derby. I think he's probably looking for some clicks around there, like because even in the thing it says like he's reluctant to join him just to experience with Man United, so that's conversation over anyway. Like there's not even something ongoing there. But with Pogba. This came out about United the other day, but I think the reality situation is how old is he now? 30?
31.
30, 31. He's been off for quite a while with all that kind of speculation on his future with, what was it, steroids or PDs or something along the lines of that, which obviously got
And before that, he was out for an entire season.
Yeah. So in reality, is he going to be the same Pogba? Even if he's a little bit below that, it's probably not worth the gamble, is it? So I don't even see him going to a club that level. I think it'll be a little bit below that if he does.
I think he moves somewhere in the French league itself. That's what I personally think.
Potentially, or Saudi, or somewhere like that. I could probably see. Tim99 says, "I'd lock them in the dressing room until someone confessed." Well, apparently, all the players I've had a talking to, they spoke to them all individually about these leaks. And what I would do is, I don't know how you would do it, but somehow if you could speak to players individually and say, right, this is going to be the team today, and you give them all a different team, and you see which team comes out, and then you'd find out who the leak is, in it sorted like that. But I don't think it works like that. I think obviously they work on training during the week, don't they? Doing certain patterns and get an idea of it. I think when they're doing that. Steph saying leaks, betting / gambling concerns. No, not betting. Nothing to do with that. It's leaks on the team. Pogba is the past. Let him go there. Polygraph time. Yeah, get a lie detector. Yeah. We'll get Jeremy Kyle. I don't know. Do you know who Jeremy Kyle is, Treyas? Yeah. So get Jeremy Kyle on it. We could do a bit of an interview and say the lie detector test results say, sure, you're chatting shit. You was the one leaking the teams. And he's like, and then we get like a whole crowd on it and it's like a show. Yeah, it'd be amazing. Why not do that? Get Jeremy Kyle on and we'll find out as soon as possible then. But it needs to stop, especially because you would probably think if you're Pep Guardiola and you see that news and you think, oh, it could be legit, you've then got a bit of an advantage, have you not?
Yeah, they do. And the moment you see someone like Maguire on the team sheet, you'd go, we can actually play like
Savinho, Doku.
Get in there.
Yeah, get in there, get running at him, pinch the ball off him. That's what would worry me.
Then he can actually, go out with someone like Phil Foden playing in the 10 because you've got someone like, Maguire playing as that centre back and then De Ligt moves to the right or the left. Then, his complete game plan actually changes.
Or it could be an absolute smokescreen and a master plan, and they threw it out there to throw Pep off, and they're going to go with a completely different team. If that is the case, then
the probability is quite low for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's playing 3D chess if they are doing that, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind it, but I think we're giving him too much credit there, aren't we? Right, let's stick with the midfield then, because we've got a story on the Atalanta midfielder, Ederson. Florien Plettenberg was doubling down on this yesterday. Transfer news that Atalanta midfielder Ederson has been sounded out by Manchester United. He is a big priority when we look at the midfield, to someone to potentially play alongside Ugarte or Kobe Mainu. Great all-around midfielder, great age profile, Shreyas. We've been linked with him for quite a while. Obviously plays under Gasperini at Atalanta, which is, I don't know if it's a similar system. It's a back three in it with the midfield. I'm not sure specifics how it operates, but the more I watch him, the more I like him.
Yeah, I think right now, when you look at the Serie A, they have got a really good crop of talent.
Yeah.
In these sort of teams. But I just think it's going to be very pricey to get someone like him. And genuinely, it's going to be very pricey because Atalanta are top of the table right now. They're 1 point clear of Napoli at the top.
Are they top Serie A?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 37 points. Napoli, 35 points. That is crazy.
Fiorentina are there as well.
Wow. Sorry, yeah, go on. Continue.
Yeah. And look, with the way their team plays, Ederson and I think Derun and Pasalic play for them in midfield. And they've got De Ketelaere, Lookman, and Retigui is a new signing for them this season, and all have been doing very well. Even in the game against Madrid, which they ended up losing, it was a very exciting game. So, with the way things look, I expect Atalanta to finish in the top four very easily. And if that happens, and you've got a Champions League team that you're going to be bidding with, and you yourself being in the Conference or Europa League next season, I would say, and even that's not a certainty. Maybe we are out of Europe next season. So it's going to be very pricey for us to move for someone like him. There is another player in this area, though, who I'm sure is not going to finish in the top four, and United can go in for him. And he's a very good player. He plays for AC Milan.
Oh, Rangers.
Yep.
Rangers.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
top player. Has he just signed though?
No, it's been a couple of seasons. He's been there too. Yeah, I think he's got a year left on his contract next year. So
yeah, he's performing really well.
And Milan is struggling at the moment. They're nowhere near the top four sides, and so if you go in for someone like him, I think you place him alongside Ugarte, or even with the Meno. He can play as a 10, he can play as a 6, or even as an 8. He can do a very good job in this team.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Ederson's contract. He's only on €50,000 a week. I say only. Obviously, I would take that in a heartbeat. But I mean, for a footballer, it's crazy, isn't it? €50,000, so what's that, like 40 grand a week? His contract runs out in June 2027, so we've still got a couple of years left on it as well. So yeah, maybe it'd be a bit. Maybe if you want to cash in, 2 years left on a deal. It probably now's the best time unless he extends, and then they can get more value out of him. But I do like him as a midfielder. The more I watch him, the more I watch his ball progression, his work off the ball. I like him. He's a good player. So that's more of a summer move in it though, rather than January.
Any of the midfielders we go for, it's going to happen in the summer.
Yeah, correct. Right, other bits of transfer news. Alvaro Fernandez, United apparently in pole position to sign Álvaro Carreras by activating their €20 million buyback clause. Where does this rank for you amongst left-backs? Because I watched Robinson against Liverpool yesterday. He's number one for me now, the more I watch him.
I rank him above Kerkez now. After that game, I rank him above Kerkez. And Kerkez is a very, very good player. But Anthony Robinson... he's someone who would fit the bill.
Yeah.
He's someone you can, when you look at his injury record as well, it's very good for a player who plays in that sort of position. And the consistency that he just brings to the team, like this is 3 seasons in a row, and he's still Fulham's best performer in that team. And to do that job against a team like Liverpool, even against, when Fulham come up against Arsenal, he was very, very good in that game too. So he's an all-rounder, defensively, very good. Attacking wise, very, very good. Even if you want him to step into midfield and act as a third midfielder, he does a brilliant job in that role as well. So Anthony Robinson, I think he's someone you can go in for. And I think with the kind of Fulham might want a good, good money for him, but I think at max it will go 40. Genuinely, I think at max they'll be able to mint 40 million off him, and a big move for him has been on the cards for 2 years now. And it's going to be very tough for Fulham to actually keep hold of him.
I want to check out his contracts because I don't know his situation, where he's at. I don't know why he gets paid in dollars because it's a fucking Premier League club. So why? I know he's American, but I don't know why it'd be reported in that. Then that's a little bit weird, to be honest with you. But anyway, 2.6 million a year. That is. So I don't know. Someone do the math on that. A free agent apparently in 2028, so he's still got quite a few years left on his deal. Or maybe that's an option for an extension. So 27, 28 is where we're
27, 28.
Yeah, so similar to Ederson. A few years left on it.
With the options that are there, now, Kerkez, you've got Robinson, Alphonso Davies, and Álvaro. Which two would you want next summer?
It's Robinson. I really like Alphonso Davies. It'd be either one of those two, but I think in terms of getting a deal done, I don't know, actually, because Robinson would be expensive. Alphonso Davies would be cheaper in terms of a fee, but then the actual package itself, he's going to want about 250, 300 grand a week. I'm not sure if that's I don't know. I'm not sure if that's feasible. But both players in profile, that's what you want in those wing-back areas, those athletic, very quick, strong, but also really good on the ball. I think Robinson and Alphonso Davies both fit that profile perfectly.
Yeah.
So, but Kirkes is great as well. I've watched Kirkes for Bournemouth loads of times, and I think he's someone who will cross the ball maybe a bit more, but he's very tenacious when he presses.
Very rapid.
Yeah, quick as well. I like all of them. I wouldn't be disappointed, if it came out in January, which it won't. But if it did, and it said, "Oh, United signed Kirkes, United signed Robinson, United signed Alphonso Davies," I'd be like, "Sweet, don't mind any of them." And I'm sure you feel the same, right?
Yeah, all three of these players are class. Like Robinson, you look at Kirkes as well. With Kirkes, you do get the added advantage that he's still very young in comparison to Robinson as well. And Davies is a superstar. Like genuinely, Alphonso Davies is a superstar. He comes in, with that quality and that experience. I would say, Champions League winner, multiple Bundesliga winner, and with the way he has played in those tournaments as well, he's been the best performer for Bayern in quite a lot of those tournaments. And we've seen enough of Alphonso Davies throughout his career up until now, and he's still only 24, 25.
Yeah. Still
So
relatively young.
again, a very fairly young, a young player coming in. So I think if we go in for either of these players, it will be a very good signing.
Yeah, I agree. But for sure, it's a priority. I think that's one thing that everyone can agree on, to be fair. Make sure you are smashing that like button. And we are officially on the road to 10k now. I know we've said it for a while, but we are in triple digits in terms of before we reach that target. So 912 subs we need before we hit 10k. And there's going to be a big live stream. There's going to be a big pre-record that's put out. There's going to be loads of stuff around it. So, yeah, can't wait to reach that milestone. It's going to be amazing. Not last story, but, I mean, it is Derby Day. So we have to speak about it a little bit. How were the nerves this morning?
Yeah, once again, you wake up in the morning, Derby Day, you see the kind of reports that are coming out from the back end of the club, and just doesn't fill you with confidence, does it?
No.
I still think that, we've got... I still think this is probably the one time where I would say United can come out of this fixture with a win. City are very disoriented at the moment, and I really wish Kyle Walker plays in this game. You get Ahmad on him, and he's going to cause a lot of troubles. Yeah. If you can get a good sync in between Bruno, Højlund, and Ahmad, I think we genuinely can cause a lot of trouble.
The form that they're in at the minute is shocking, isn't it? It is very unprecedented. You've never seen this from Pep Guardiola at any club before, and he seems to be struggling with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The first real bit of adversity he's faced, and he's genuinely really struggling. I mean, obviously, no, Rodri is massive. He's the best player in the world. It's going to be a massive miss, granted. But then you're going into this game, they've got no Rico Lewis, they've got no Nathan Ake, no Manuel Akanji, no John Stones. Kovacic is like 50-50. Like, they've got big injuries. But they've just been like the full team's been completely just destroyed, hasn't it? When you watch them at the moment, like, they are so easy to play against on the transition. Every game you watch, whether it's Juventus, Bournemouth, Brighton, whoever it is, they're so open, aren't they? And you got to think United have to capitalise on that, don't they?
I think when they played against Juventus, it was the first time I saw Guardiola helpless. Like, genuinely, I saw him helpless because he really didn't know what else he can actually do. And I think Juve have got that Turkish player on the left, Kenan Yildiz. He absolutely, he just, every single half space he got, every single counter attack that Juve got, he was at it in seconds, and they weren't able, even able to stop them. And the worst part about it was Pep knew what they were doing, and even though he knew what they were doing, he didn't have any, genuinely any way to stop them. The players that they've got in now. De Bruyne is very injury prone now. He's a very, very good player, probably one of the best in midfield, still in the Premier League when he is fit, but he's not at that level where you can expect him to play week in and week out. Gundogan is not that player anymore.
No.
He's old, and you can see it that, his level is
and
dropped.
That got like wrapped up like a Christmas present. The way he came back, what a signing, they're bringing him back on a free, and da. It's obvious his legs have gone. I mean, especially when he's playing in the midfield, he just cannot. It's like Casemiro when you watch him trying to go, you know what I mean? Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah, and I think the few players that are still performing, Bernardo Silva is still performing for them. Like, he's still able to do what he's supposed to do. But apart from that, every single area, they've got big question marks. Doku, output-wise, is not as effective. Savinho has shown a lot of glimpses. He looks very promising, but just hasn't been able to come out with the output. Haaland has been has been suffering a lot because of this as well, because practically he's not been able to do anything in front of goal. And in the back line, I think that's the back line and the midfield are still areas where there are big issues for them, because Kyle Walker has completely dropped off this season. Like any single player, I still remember that they had a game against Fulham where Traore couldn't finish any chance, but every single opportunity that he was making a run at them, that game could have easily, been a 4-1 win for Fulham. So there are big issues in that City team, and that's why I think this is the game where United having pacey players actually works in their favor. You get Ahmad on, you get Højlund on, bring
But
Garnacho on the
it's
bench.
making the most of that situation, isn't it? That's you look at Victoria Pleasant, the 3-4 attacks that we had that was 3v1, and they just didn't do anything with it. It's like you get into great areas and then you fuck it up. So it doesn't matter if you penetrate, if you get in behind, which you probably will a few times.
Yeah.
You need to finish it. You need to make the most of it. I think the most interesting factor going into this game is the psychological kind of how it affects each team. If City were to lose this, I mean, they're already in really bad form, 1 win in 10. 27 goals conceded. If they lose to United, a team that are in 13th, we're shit at a minute. Let's call a spade a spade. If they lose to United today, that is a massive psychological blow.
We set a benchmark that if you lose to us,
exactly.
there are big issues in your
Do you know what I
team.
mean? Yeah, you're basically losing to West Ham, Everton, Palace. Like, that's the kind of area that we're surrounding at the moment.
Yeah.
We've been really bad this season. So, it's huge pressure.
We need to get at this game, though. We genuinely need to get at this game because genuinely, I'm going to ask you this. By the time New Year kicks in, where do you expect United to be in the table?
You have to say, I think Chivy made a great point when we did the preview last night. And if anyone hasn't watched that yet, if you do want to get that in just before the derby, do feel free to. But I think he made a great point last night, saying, like, is it out of realms of possibility to say we'll be near the relegation bit, given the teams that we're playing?
Yeah,
we're playing Newcastle, Liverpool.
We're playing Bournemouth, Wolves, Newcastle, and then Liverpool.
You've got a mixed pack in there that's going to be... Molyneux's always tricky for us. Always been a bogey team for us.
I think this is the manager as well now. So manager
just
bounce.
Like Gary O'Neill, manager bounce. Obviously, we always get a manager bounce in the season. You can go through the games, and as a collective, I think you can sit there and go through them with a fine-tooth comb and go, probably pick up a point there. Probably won't beat Liverpool. Definitely won't beat Liverpool.
Definitely won't be winning. Yeah.
Yeah, no probably about it. Definitely won't beat them there. So that's points dropped. Newcastle is going to be a tricky game. I think that's at home though, right? At Old Trafford.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad. If it was at St James's Park, I'd write us off in that as well.
Just double check.
I'm pretty sure it is at home.
It's at Old Trafford, yeah.
So you maybe, I don't know, maybe you could pick up 4 points amongst the 4 fixtures or something. And then you look at the table, you're like, it's not good enough. You're still going to be knocking around 14th, 15th. And then you're hoping to play well against the teams that you should be picking up points against. But if you look at the season, like, we've already played some of them teams and we've drew. Like, to Crystal Palace, we drew 0-0. Everton are the only team, I would say, probably that we've beat convincingly, isn't it? 4-0. And that was even that, like...
Ipswich we drew too. And you would expect us to get points there.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And I don't know, it's tough to see us getting in the top half of the table in the immediate future, isn't it? I think so. Andy Williams saying, we ain't winning. Are you mad? Liverpool, Arsenal dropping points. City don't need any more motivation. It's a great point. Connor Atkinson, big up Connor, saying about time Pep knows what it's like to struggle. Andy Williams, we always kickstart City's unbeaten run. Oh, I've got hiccups. Steph saying, just hope Foden doesn't show up today. I've seen a lot of people talking about that. About Foden. Loads of people.
He put a hat-trick last time against us.
Yeah, but obviously he's had a stinker of a season. He's done, fuck. I know he's had his injury problems and stuff. Let's actually have a look at his stats this season. I know it's not all about stats, but 5 matches, 3 goals, 1 assist. That's probably one of our players' best records, to be honest, the way we've been playing this season. But yeah, they've all been in the Champions League. He's played 10 Premier League games and got 1 assist. And to go from what he did last season, Premier League Player of the Season, to 1 assist in 10 games is crazy, isn't it? He got 27 goals and 12 assists last season. 27 goals, 19 in the Prem and 8 assists. That is fucking nuts. And he's 1 assist in 10. That is a mighty fall.
I think ever since the season ended and the Euros started, Foden just never looked like himself. Even during the Euros, he never really looked like himself throughout the course of the of that campaign.
Yeah, we're saying all this now, and that he'll end up scoring today. You can just fucking see it, can't you?
Look, Foden might turn up today, and this is probably the best game for him to actually turn up in.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why both of them are on the graphic when we go live at around 3:30. With, I mean, it won't be team news because everyone knows the fucking team already. So it's just going to be, we're going live for a pre-match build-up
Yeah.
at 3:30. And got Mainu and Foden both on the graphic. Because
Yeah.
the Mancunian lads, Rashford ain't starting. We'd expect Mainu to start, and we probably expect Phil Foden to start. So Jonathan Ball in the chat saying hello. Big up to Jonathan. I hope Rashford, Garnacho, or Dalot all don't start. I think Diego Dalot will start in this game. Z, you guys don't understand how rubbish City are in this moment. Spurs went there and stuffed them 4-0, and they were dog at the time. But Spurs have always been a bogey team for City as well. Spurs have always give them a good game, regardless whatever manager they've got in charge. From what I can remember, at least, anyway.
The thing is, I would say this, I do know how bad City are, but at least the teams that they're coming up against, they have threats. Like, if you look at Spurs, I can name you 5 areas from where goals can come from. I can instantly name you 5 players. You look at Juve, I can name 10 players from where, goals can come from, because they're that, the goals are that distributed amongst their players. You look at United, where do the goals come from? Honestly.
It's tough at the minute, isn't it? They're trying to grind something out, trying to get someone to pick up any kind of form, do you know what I mean? Obviously, Rasmus is doing it in Europe, but, I mean, Ahmad's one in it that you look at. I think 5 assists in his last 5 Premier League appearances heading into this derby. You think he's the one who's going to do something. But then at the same time, I just feel like Pep's going to have a plan for him. I feel like he's going to do something to lock him, you know what I mean?
Pep's not a dumb manager. So he's going to try and counter us, what he can best find with the players that he's got at his disposal at the moment. But this, like I said, these derbies can tilt either way. We've had teams that are nowhere near to City's quality, and we've won 2-0 against. I remember Ollie's games when we used to, play Pep, and we used to beat them 2-0, 3-1, 2-1. I've seen Pep struggle against Ollie's teams when we had Bruno and Martial and Rashford in the counter attack playing up as a front.
3 times under.
Yeah.
3 times.
And the only thing is, this game can tilt anywhere. United could win 3-1. Honestly, United could go there. United could win 3-1. Just as easily, City can win 3-1 as well. It could genuinely tilt in any direction.
I'm going to be fascinated to see if that is the starting lineup, because there's a few moving pieces in that. I mean, obviously, someone like Ahmad is definitely going to start. You know what I mean? The form that he's in, he has to play. But then if they're going to put Bruno into the midfield to facilitate for Mason Mount, Bruno's got to be really disciplined in there. And he can't play like he did against Arsenal in the second half, where he's pinging these Hollywood balls left, right, and centre, or he's chasing a lost ball like a dog with a tennis ball. I don't want to see any of that, personally. I think Andy's just touched on that there, to be fair. If we play Bruno deep, we'll lose. We need Casemiro and Ugarte midfield to have a chance, in my opinion. Juventus couldn't buy a win and easily beat them. Hit the like button. That's from Lahel Rashid. If you could take a point now, would you take it? That's from Steph.
I want the 3 points, but
I'd take a point. At the Etihad right now.
Yeah.
I'd take a point.
Yeah, I'd take a point.
I think we've got other games where you need to be picking up 3 points. I mean, I think if you ask the majority of United fans now, I think a lot of them would take a point. I don't want to be negative, but you just have to.
Every single one of them wants the win.
Yes.
They just don't want to go into another game and not.
You don't want to get battered. I just don't want to get battered. That's the thing. And it's a sad state of affairs when you feel like that as a fan. But I mean, the reality sinks in, doesn't it? Nick, Amorim keeps starting Dalot. I'm Amorim out. I mean, that's quite strong for starting one player, but you're entitled to your opinion, I suppose. Honestly, Nick, when you guys see the game play out today, you guys wouldn't believe how easy it is to beat them. Trust me, you will see. I know we aren't good, by the way, but I think we win. I'll take the positivity. I'll take your positivity all day. But I think in a blink of an eye, they can just really turn it on. Because I know they lost to Juventus, but if you watch that Juventus game, they was all over him. And Haaland missed a massive chance as well. So, you know, it's fine margins in football. I think what would help is getting an early goal. And what would help...
If we get a goal, like in the first 10 minutes of the game, City will be in complete disarray. And that's when you can cause them a lot of...
pressure, the crowd will go quiet. You can start building on that. Get an early goal, get into your shape, press really well if you're going to go for that game plan. I feel like we're going to sit deep today anyway. But I think if you execute your game plan well, you ride out your little bit of luck, similar to what Sporting Lisbon did, to be fair. But the difference is in Sporting Lisbon, when they beat him in the thing, they had Gyökeres and Trincao and Goncalves, who were killers when they got the ball. We don't have that at the moment. So
Yeah.
you know,
And every single one of those players spun every single player in that midfield line.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
actually
Trincao in particular, when he picked it up on the half turn, was just ridiculous, wasn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. But look, we've got plenty of time to discuss that because we're going to be live at 3:30 with all the team news. Please do, anyone who's watching right now, come and join us. I want to get as many opinions. I want to get this stream popping off when we do go live for that because I'm very excited for it. Probably the most even a derby has been for a hot minute, I would say, for a long time. Because I even think under Ole, under Mourinho, we're miles off it, but with the form that City's in a minute, you're like, there's definitely a chance there to go and do something. So I'm interested to see what everyone thinks, how the nerves are building up as well beforehand. And like I said, if you want to get yourself ready for the game, we did the preview last night, me, Sam, Shreyas, and Chive. I'll leave the link in the chat for you, and yeah, go check that out and let us know your thoughts and feelings. But it's a massive day for United. Like I said, Shreyas, psychologically huge for both teams. I mean, it's, we discussed it yesterday, weren't we? How who's it bigger for? Is it bigger for Pep or Amorim? What do you think?
It's bigger for us. I don't want to see United, drop to 15th.
I know.
So yeah, so it's genuinely a bigger game for us because City
City out of the title race if they lose. You don't think so?
No.
I'd say that Liverpool lost drew. Sorry.
I've seen City lagging behind 14 and 15 points in the table and then end the season at the top with a healthy 13 or 14 point margin. And with the January window coming up, if they get someone like a Zubimendi in, they're going to be back in it. They're genuinely going to be back in it. And one thing I've learned through the years is you can never count City out of a title race, at least before February.
Yeah.
So they still got a good period.
If they're not out, let's go put them out of the race. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because if we do, it means Liverpool probably win the league, which isn't great either. But I mean, if you can stop City doing it, I suppose
we did it to Liverpool last season.
Yeah. Let's see. It's been a fascinating Premier League season so far. I mean, Forest being in the top 4 after 16 games is just crazy. And, it's been up and down. Let's see what this game offers us. Like I said, we'll be back live at 3:30. Do not miss it. Make sure you come and join us with all the team news and the reaction. Me and Shreyas will be building it up. And then for the post-match review, I think it's me, Adam, Sam, and Chive potentially. I need to double check. But yeah, it's quite a few on tonight. So looking forward to seeing you all. Enjoy the rest of your day enjoy the build-up. And we'll see you in a couple hours' time, yeah? Take it easy, everyone. Smash a like on the video as well. Subscribe.